Hello, everyone. Welcome to the eighth episode of the Virtual Coffee Show. Today, we have our experienced education partners from around the world. And of course, I'm going to introduce them as we go. And the topic, as you would have figured out already from the thumbnail, is the future of international students, a global perspective. So, we are in essence going to speak to our expert panel today and ask them some key questions which our students have been having in their minds in the last several months of lockdown. And of course, we hope that this will be a valuable session for not just our future students, but our current students and anyone planning to go to Australia or undertake an international education. So let's get rolling. I'm going to invite Sushil Sukwani from Advise International as our first guest, followed by Tiago from Hello Australia. All right, so gentlemen, thank you for joining on the virtual show today. And of course, it's like I said, it's morning, evening, perhaps night in some locations. So really appreciate your time in joining us today. Let's get rolling with this. And Sushil, first question really is, as we've been interacting with hundreds and thousands of students in the last, 6 months of lockdown, and a number of students, majority of students have questions around. Should we start online? Is it valuable to really start online, or is it worth waiting for on campus? So really, what's your perception about studying online in context of the current situation? Do you really think it's a good idea for students to commence online, or due to the uncertainties, it's better that students actually wait for more clarity and arrive on campus to commence your studies?
So, Shrikant, thank you for this question. And it's something that I've been really working very aggressively on and thinking on and communicating with students and parents on from April. We are in October, and this has happened in April. What's happened is we don't know the scope of this pandemic. We don't know when it started. We don't know when it's going to end. With no end in sight, the only thing I could say or feel that students should do is do not stop your life, don't pause your life. You can do a little bit, but don't, get out. So we were faced with this challenge as far back in April when some students had to go to study at another destination in May, courses that were starting in May. At that time, very few students were open to even listening. And we as a company, we conducted a workshop online, obviously, and started explaining the pros and cons. We further developed on that thought process and continued. So I'm very, very much pro online as a stopgap. Start online, finish offline. That's the motto in our company. Students should keep their life not on a pause, keep moving. Everything cannot be done in the best possible manner, but tools are improving, efforts are being made, curriculum is being upgraded. There's a lot of value addition, and that is better than what online traditionally was. We also have a new online. It's not fair to judge it on the parameters of where the old online was. So I've very aggressively been telling students start. But sorry to go on a little longer, but in view of certain markets, and I have felt that people need to be able to see the finish line. The question next is, how long do I have to go online? What happens next? What is the rule when it comes to, how much is accepted, how much is not allowed for post-study work, for permanent residency, for the curriculum, for the particular subject? That's where there's a lot of gray areas, and that's where students keep fumbling. If there was some clarity, there is some more acceptance, because people know even if they sit at home, they can't do anything else. They're only doing online. So I'll stop here and let Tiago offer his views.
I have a very similar view. We have students in Australia, Canada, UK, the US, and also we are working with New Zealand. And I believe that every student has a different perspective from the online experience. From my perspective, I had the opportunity to complete 4 higher education programs throughout my life. Three of them were face to face, one was online. So I believe that both experiences are valuable. However, there is a price involved in everything. So our students that come to Australia, they pay one of the highest fees in the world, and the institutions in Australia, they don't have the same reputation as institutions in the US or in the UK. So students, when they're having online classes, they expect lower fees. So if the school is delivering a quality program with more affordable fees, I believe that that's a fair trade. And the students that are working, that are studying institutions that offer them discounts for online classes, most of them are happy. However, those that lost the quality of face-to-face classes, and especially that special contact with other international students, these guys, they are upset. Because when you are studying overseas, you want to have a face-to-face experience. You want to engage with students from other nationalities. And if you want to do your whole course online, you can do that from your comfort zone, inside your house, from your home country, having your job, and you don't need to come to another destination to engage in different activities and pay a higher cost, a higher fee for that. So I think that the online experience today is way better than we previously experienced. And if it's for a fair price and a fair fee, students would be happy.
That's right. I think both of you have made a very valid point about the fact that your study should not stop. Don't apply brakes on your study plans, on your education plans.
Mhm.
I also believe that we as education providers are responsible for producing future leaders. And if we give up, at a time when we have other ways to complete your studies, like going online and still completing your study, then what's the value we are really creating? What's the message we are sending to our future leaders? That if you face a challenge going forward, just sit home and don't do anything about that. That's really a wrong message we would be sending. So I do tend to agree with the fact that continuing your studies is going to be the key. So Dora, I'm going to get you in on that question. Now, of course, with all these advancements in technology, we've in the last 6 months we've perhaps seen how much we have not advanced, because the internet issues continue to haunt all of us at some point or other, and this is one of those days for us. So Dora, welcome to the Virtual Coffee Show. Firstly, you've been hearing these comments from the gentleman today about commencing online, and of course you're onshore, so you're dealing with most of the students already in Australia. But what are your thoughts, or what's the feedback that you've got from students who are in Australia and may still be online, may not be able to go to campus for whatever reason? How is that shaping up? How are the students getting used to studying online, or are they not getting used to it?
Yes, hi. To be honest, at the beginning, February 2020, the online study started, and many students said it's bad, it's not very good. The most important, I think, that's the beginning, and every day, every work day, when they use Zoom or Microsoft to start the online study, usually in the tutorial, the tutor lose the connection. So sometimes just a few students in one Zoom meeting, and tutor teach something, blah, 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 blah. After 10 minutes, no sounds, and all the students cannot hear anything. So I think at the beginning, from February to March, the semester one, many students made this bad condition. So after semester one, many students don't have online study because they think this is a bad condition, especially some students onshore, because in Australia, especially in Brisbane, students onshore still pay for the full tuition fee because they are onshore, and they also need to pay for the rental, the leasement fee, and also all the bill. So they think this is a huge a huge problem to them. So July 2020, many students told to me, I want to terminate my study or interrupt my study, and I want to go back to China or go back to their home country like Malaysia. And they want to have the online study in their home country because they can save some money. They don't need to pay for the rent and they don't need to pay for the bill. So this is the condition. But I think from July 2020, more and more universities realized maybe online study will keep a long term, so they change. Like I said, like in Brisbane, James Cook and also QUT, Griffiths, UQ, they changed their online model. And in the semester 2, 2020, I think I can get less and less complaint about the online study. So the condition become better. So that's the students' feedback. But I think those are only to some students like business major and also Bachelor of Arts or Master of Business, like these students. But some students study health. If they have the nursing, Bachelor of Nursing, or they have other some major needs placement, they still have bad complaint because they cannot do the placement. Especially, I have some students in Melbourne from March to now. They cannot do any placement. They just stay at home, no work and no job and no payment. So I just said the condition in Australia now and some real feedbacks. So that's yes, that's all.
Yeah. Awesome. So, again, you've made a couple of points which relate back to what Sushil also mentioned. And, now you spoke about some Chinese students finding it hard to, study online because of, the lag that they're facing and a bunch of things. And, I just saw a comment on our show as well, just next to, which Sushil actually made. And he mentioned when we had a bit of a connectivity issue, he mentioned these are the stark realities of being online, the bandwidth, and this applies to every part of the world. No matter how advanced your country is, and whether you're in US, Australia, India, or whatever, you
Yes.
will face bandwidth issues at some point or other. And again, for that argument, you have points which Sushil also raised about why stop your education? You are a future leader. So would you just sit back and watch the world go by? Or would you actually, try the best available route, continue your study? And just on this point, and before we started this show, Tiago, you made a mention of you are so super positive, and you're positive thinker, and you're not going to be talking about taking it easy, holding back, and you are pro online completely. So with all of these challenges around the lag in study, the bandwidth issues like Sushil mentioned, do you think it still outweighs the negativities of going online? And do you still recommend students that no matter what challenges you're facing, you still must go online and keep the ball rolling?
Well, as I mentioned previously, I believe that we gotta follow the trends. The disruptions that we're facing now, they came here to stay. So the online learning system is the trend, is the future. No matter what you think about online studies, you've got to get used to that. So my last higher education course was online, and I'll tell you something, I would never do a face-to-face course again, because we all have very busy work routines. So Sushil, for instance, he's in another country now. Last year, I got more than 80 flights throughout Australia and Europe and South America. And I was still enrolled in the course. I was still attending classes. I was still doing my subjects. And even though international students that come to Australia, they tend to have few more responsibilities in terms of face-to-face classes as per day student visa conditions, I believe that we should be open to online studies. And I think that when we are studying something online, we have the possibility to get access to the best trainers. Let's say James Cook found a brilliant trainer that is living in Perth. Are you guys going to pay for a flight ticket for him to come here every Wednesday, get a 6 hours flight, 4 hours flight, whatever it is, and then to return? Or can you guys organize an online platform that works and this trainer can deliver a quality program to the students? So I'm very happy about these changes that we're facing. I know that it will take a few years for us to understand how it works, to improve the systems, to improve the experience, but I'm very positive. And by the way, I have one student that was doing a course that actually she's doing a course at Sarina Russo Institute, and she told me great things about the program, and she's doing an IT program, and she said, how come I'm going to be close to online platform if I'm working with IT? And the same for Bachelor of students that are doing a Bachelor of Business at James Cook University. They were quite happy because they like the flexibility. So we have some people that are not happy with the online courses, but I can tell you that it's divided. And from my perspective, my personal view, I believe that students, they are like more satisfied with their online studies than what we previously thought.
Awesome. So for a few minutes, let's completely accept that argument that yes, you must commence online, you must not stop your studies. But a question for you, Sushil, over here is how long? Like today, if you look at the Australian government announcements, these are more around maybe 2021 end is when they're planning to open the borders. And all right, they have been pilot projects, but these are very little numbers. We're talking about 200 and 300 students going to Australia. But given that there is perhaps 12 months or maybe 6 to 12 months still for the borders to open, Sushil, how long do you think students should look at as setting a deadline, for instance?
Okay. So I'll take off a little bit from where Tiago ended, whereby in the future he's only going to study online. And my answer to that is that's because you've had the benefits of offline. You did 3 programs where you got the juice out of being in a classroom, meeting students, being on campus, and getting those advantages face to face. So online at a later stage, as a finishing stage, as a completion stage, as a skill stage, is good, but there's no taking away from the benefits of a face-to-face education. And I actually very often give this example that in the year 600 BC, before Christ, face-to-face learning was started under a tree by the Gurukul system in India, and today we are here and we yet believe that there's a lot of value in face-to-face education. Throughout, technology has come in and changed the way we learn. That changed with paper, it changed with printing, it changed with multimedia, and now changed with the internet. Multiple things, but they always will need to coexist. Yes, the new world has a new learning system. Everybody has to learn online, and it's a part of it, but it doesn't replace. So that gets me closer to this question of yours, Shrikant, is how long will a student wait? Now, when they're paying the big bucks, like Tiago again mentioned, that the fees are high, they want a trade off. You cannot tell me that this is the same thing. So give me a scholarship, give me a discount, give me something. That's what students want. And the how long depends on how long the program is too. But most people, if you tell them that the next 12 months is online, they will not. They will not start. They will move to an alternate, they have, rather not will. They have moved to an alternate destination. They have moved to an alternate program, maybe back home. They may go on take a job. You can't tell a person who was about to start something that for the next 1 year, you take this alternate option, which I promise you is better and is good, but it's not the real thing. So other markets that's have opened up. So we've got the US allowing students to fly in, we've got the UK allowing students to fly in. They have higher, larger populations to deal with. Maybe they have better infrastructure, but they are taking on the challenge. We've got Canada that is saying that okay, the next semester may also be online, but there's a parallel angle saying institutions are okay to receive students, campuses are being cleaned up, visas will be issued, people will be allowed to fly as long as they quarantine. People need to be able to see the finish line. They need to see action. And even though the deadline set by the Australian government, like, they will allow people to fly in, first those who are in progress, or courses in progress, are already on land, and then those who are coming overseas. It's seeming too far away. It's not real. It's not the right thing that the government should do. And my whole career and life started with an education in Australia. I've thought that the government of Australia was the most proactive and the smartest. So I'm finding that they're a little concerned, over concerned, and they should be open to people traveling. It's not that difficult. I've been on a flight a week ago and I'm getting onto one tonight. Life's not so difficult when you're traveling across countries, and COVID is not that prevalent. So I think that students will not easily engage in a program if the finish line is not visible, and they do not know if that's again going to be extended. There's no guarantees. Everyone says, when the COVID started, they said vaccine in September. We're here in October, they're saying vaccine in December. Whether the vaccine comes and is effective, we don't know. So you can't keep pushing the finish line away. You got to take some bold decisions and move on.
I agree 100% on that, Sushil. And it's a bit sad now. Like you said, you started your career with Australia, and I started my career with Australia. Perhaps it's the same case for most of us here on the show today, and it really pains me a bit to see that the country that has been so proactive and that has been so advanced in a number of things and various decisions, high quality of education. When I compare Australia with UK and Canada, it's a bit of a disappointing story in terms of the announcements, and not to say negative things, but really it's more about, what's the outlook? The outlook today is, fine, you be safe and, try and not get too many people from overseas. But if we look at UK and Canada, the announcements have been much more positive than Australia. Perhaps Australian government has something extraordinary in stock for us, and they might just come up with a fantastic plan that outdoes all other countries. But at this point, it's really that uncertainty which is affecting. And Sushili rightly pointed out that the people should be able to see that finish line. When do you stop online, and when do you switch over to on campus? So on that very note, I also wanted some quick thoughts on if you were to give a piece of advice to the Australian government, and I know I don't know how many of the Australian government officials will be tuning into this, but we do have a number of officials from the government bodies who have seen our show. So I would really like some thoughts, more of a global perspective. So perhaps Tiago, if you want to give your best suggestion as far as opening the borders is concerned, or maybe announcements are concerned, that'll be good.
Well, we need to see some action. And I'm not saying that Australia should risk the health of its population, because everyone needs to feel safe, and the economy here is going well. Besides the COVID restrictions, I know that Victoria is facing a hard time, but besides Victoria, most of the states are handling well the COVID battle. Life is back to normal, and the population is not very welcoming. If we bring then some new ideas of getting students in and maybe being more relaxed with the quarantine, that's not what I'm asking. What I'm asking is a date. So we do need a date, even if it's for September 2021. If they say, guys, we need time, we're not going to open this border soon. However, from the 1st of September 2021, there will be no more restrictions, or maybe in the worst case scenario, some quarantine requirements. I'm not asking for something for March. I'm not asking for something for April. I'm just asking the government to be reasonable and let these guys know that, especially students that are like in markets such as Africa, Asia, Latin America, We can organize payment plans for these students. So let's say that they're going to study a Bachelor of Business at James Cook University. They can do their first semester online. They can start the English program with Sarina Russo and then start a diploma of business. They can pay the CUE installments for their agencies, and then we send the money to you guys. So we just need a finish line. Otherwise, a lot of people will change their minds and they will go to other destinations. And once you lose the student, it takes ages to recruit others. So all the investment that everyone has made in the last 5 years will be lost. And we're talking about a fortune. Australia needs international students. Australia has a beautiful reputation around the world. So we need to keep up the brilliant job that the government did in the last decades, and we need a date.
Fantastic, Tiago. That's really powerful words and a very strong feedback. And I'm glad you bring that out with such energy and passion, because we are all passionate about Australia. We are all passionate about the study, the education quality in Australia, and that's somewhere not reflecting in the decisions or in the announcements that have been happening so far. So on that very note, Robin, I've seen especially with Africa, I've seen that the resilience in the African market has been praiseworthy, really, because of all the markets we have seen that Africa students from Africa were the first lot to bounce back into action and accept online education. So we faced a number of challenges, and I won't say convincing students, but enlightening students about why online is not as bad as as you imagine. But with African students, the acceptability has been very much there. So how does that happen? I'm just amazed. We have a number of us African students starting online, absolutely no issues, actually not even asking about when the borders are opening as much as some of the other countries. So any quick thoughts from students in Africa and your sentiments as well about the market?
Great. Basically, when this whole idea of commencing online came, we tried to speak to our students like, look, it's just a temporary measure. But once everything settles down, then you will be able to transition on campus. So for the brighter students and the brave ones, they were quick to accept it, though it took some bit of effort. But again, I must commend some of our great providers like JCU. They provided some incentives just to make sure that our students were comfortable before they start the online courses. And as Goajo, we've had a number of students comments online. The feedback has really been great, and not only the feedback, but some of them were proud to share their transcripts for the last semester, and you could see they are performing absolutely amazing, which is something quite worth noting. So the other thing that I would just like to maybe weigh in on would be let it not be a temporary thing, like we are doing it online, like this was just a makeshift program, and going forward we just want to go back to on-campus learning, and then we'll just pack all these things and put them under some table somewhere in some drawer. No, let online studies be given as much priority and weight, same as on-campus studies. Why? Just as my good friend Tiago has said, he is considering in future studying online. So that means for professionals, for students probably who are busy, have a busy work schedule, maybe they can't get some time off to go and probably further their studies, then it is something that they can consider, and we can proudly sell it, market it to students, promote this confidently. But again, can we have the cost subsidized? I know it's a tough question to pose, but now That would be really a great thing, especially to the African market. COVID came, it's really hit number of families below the belt, but now what do? Life has to go on, people have to study, dreams have to be achieved, and we just have to see, try and have like some incentives, more incentives, to be precise, looking at cost. So cost will be a number one thing going forward, especially if students will have to accept online studies. And then now the flexibility and everything, I know that is, there's no doubt it will be great. Just to comment on the government measures, and just a few things probably that we can see happening on the in the recent couple of months. I have seen a good number of students not willing to commit. Right? Yes, they want to come to Australia, but they're still unsure when the borders are open. Much as you'd like to encourage them, like, look, you're going to do your masters, they're supposed to study work visa and stuff, but they still don't want to commit. Why? Because they feel the government is not the government is not serious, probably, if I may use that word, in terms of looking at their welfare. Right? So if this trend carries on, probably in the next 12 months, then I'm afraid it will be difficult, probably, to sell Australia as a study destination. For instance, looking at Africa, in all the discussions going around about the pilot projects, there is no single mention of Africa. Africa has not been included in any of these pilot programs. Why? We don't know. Maybe they can tell us. But now, going forward, they need to consider putting in certain measures. For instance, I've spoken to a number of parents and even students, and they are willing to actually flex a little bit just to make sure that they actually they comply with the COVID-19 measures that are set by the government. For instance, yesterday I just had a chat with one, and she was like, I'm happy if they can tell me to quarantine because I already have my visa and I'm studying online, but I'm just nervous. I want to go and I want to transition online. So she's like, I'm happy if they can ask me to quarantine 2 weeks before my travel, after I've taken my my COVID-19 test, then that's okay. So that now, even when I get onshore, then I'm still happy to quarantine for a certain duration before now getting back to interacting with people, right? So there's really a huge responsibility that lies on the government to just give specific timelines.
Dora, just one last question before I bring everyone back on the screen. Do you think if they are not online, they should be looking at a break, or are there any other ideas or options that you would suggest to students? Because if they are not having a good experience online, what's the next best thing they can do?
So, to be honest, sometimes students ask me, should I have the online study, or I just interrupt my study, or I just go back to China, or I just have a holiday in Australia? I recommend they go on study, because when they have the online study, they have something to do. They have the assignment, they have the exam, and they will feel better. It's better than they stay alone in the apartment, in the house. That's what I recommend to them.
Awesome. Fantastic. So before we end this show, I would just like probably some quick words, maybe under 10 seconds from each of you, as to what advice would you give to international students, or what's the punchline that you would suggest international students should follow. Like, for example, if someone asked me that question, I would say never stop. And it aligns, I know, very closely with Tiago, but I'm sorry, Tiago, I've taken that already now. So you got to come up with a new one. But really, this show is going to be watched by hundreds and thousands of international students, and we get a huge number of inquiries following our virtual coffee show. especially this one's dedicated to international students. So, of course, there will be questions, for our expert panel here. But quick piece of advice. I'll start with the lady here. Dora, if you were to give a quick advice, or have the students follow a punchline, what would that be?
Yes, I want to say be happy.
Awesome.
Yes.
All right. Thank you. Sushil?
Don't let the pandemic slow you down. Don't let it take away your dreams. Find ways to reach the finish line. That's it.
Awesome. Thank you. Tiago?
Save money, improve your English, and be prepared for the best experience of your life.
Awesome. I love that. Improve your English. Now, if you are going to Australia, that's the number one thing you've got to do. You got to take your English from a 6.5 IELTS to 8, 9, or if you're already 9, well, good luck. But excellent advice. Robin, what's yours?
I would tell the students to stay positive, stay focused. This is the best time, actually. If those who are having who are not able to meet their GTE, like from the word go previously, this is the best time to actually make hay. So my message to them is stay positive, stay focused, stay on course. Yeah.
Fantastic. So those are really encouraging words for our international students, I'm sure, and they will find great value, and they will be immensely happy to see that experts, together collectively, we are talking about 150 perhaps years of experience, amongst all of us here. So I'm sure our students will find that valuable. I would once again like to thank each one of you to be part of the Virtual Coffee Show, episode 8. Really appreciate your time today, and I'm sure you would like to field any questions from students from your respective markets. So we'll be passing those inquiries and questions to you. But thank you very much, everyone. Robin, Tiago, Sushil, and Dora.
Thank you for
Thank you
having us
very
on the
much.
show.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.